It's the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Your sex life is important, and if you've ever felt like you could use a little boost in the bedroom, then listen up, because now you can get your confidence back and do it without leaving the comforts of your own home. Hims provides access to doctor-trusted ED treatment options, such as chewable hard mints and brand-name treatments like Viagra for up to 95% cheaper. The process is simple and 100% online, with no annoying scheduling complications and no uncomfortable doctor's visits. Hims will ship your medication to you for free with no insurance needed either. You can start your free online visit today at hims.com/lockedon. That's HIMS.com/lockedon for your personalized ED treatment options. HIMS.com/lockedon. Hard mints are chewable compound products which are not approved by or verified for safety or effectiveness by the FDA. Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Round 2 of the Stanley Cup playoffs has arrived, and you're tapped right back into your daily source. It's the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and we're breaking down all the Eastern Conference matchups, previews, predictions, X Factors, and best bets. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's get this paper.
You're Locked On Fantasy Hockey, your daily podcast on fantasy hockey. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy Tuesday, everybody, and welcome back inside the lab to the latest edition of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast. I'm joined, as always, by my esteemed co-host, Mr. Steele Rodin. And on this side of the microphone, it's your boy, Big Flip Livingstone. Shout out to all the everydayers holding us down, making us your first listen every single day, Monday through Friday. You can find brand new episodes wherever you find your favorite content. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monopoly Go. Game off. We got to talk more about Monopoly Go, the fast-paced game that lets you team up with your friends to play tournaments and unlock awesome prizes, stickers for trading, cool playing pieces, and hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. Download Monopoly Go right now for free on the Google Play or App Store. Game on. Steele, that's an easy segue. Game on for our Tuesday episode. It's round 2, baby. And as much as our Leafs bow out once again in excruciating fashion, we're not talking about that anymore, because the teams that are here, we are going to talk about. Boston rolls into Florida on a tight turnaround. I don't know what you think about this series, but I got a pretty clear-cut angle that we'll talk about. Also, Canes Rangers already underway, Steele. I don't know if you got to watch any of that game Sunday, but this series is going to be juicy. X factors, best bets, and who wins in how many games, just like the round 1 breakdowns. And also tomorrow's episode, we'll be taking a look out west. So make sure you're tapped in the rest of the week. Steele, right over to you, pal. I don't know what series you want to look at first, but now things are going to start to really tighten up. Or are they?
I think they will. And yeah, if you didn't watch last night, game 1 in round 2, New York Rangers, Carolina Hurricanes takes place. Rangers get game 1, 4-3. Also in the same day, the Vegas Golden Knights were also eliminated by the Dallas Stars. So we, like Flip said, we will touch on the Western Conference matchups in tomorrow's episode, but we're breaking down the Eastern Conference. Let's start with the game 1, Rangers versus Hurricanes. And obviously big win for my Rangers, who I have winning the Stanley Cup, 4-3 dub. But what a great game. I didn't watch it. I caught the highlights this morning. So, great things from both teams. The stars on the New York Rangers really popped off me because Zibanejad, Artemi Panarin, Chris Kreider, they continue to do their things. And I'll just jump into my X factor with the Carolina Hurricanes in the same breath. And it has to be the penalty kill. The penalty kill needs to be the X factor in this series for the Carolina Hurricanes against this Rangers team. They have been the second worst playoff penalty kill team, coming in at 61.54% for the Carolina Hurricanes.
Which
not
is
good.
Surprising.
That's saying something. That's very surprising. That's saying something when they played the New York Islanders in the first round. That says how bad their penalty kill was. They let two power play goals in last night against the New York Rangers. So Rangers, they're top 3 in both categories. Both on the power play, they rank second. Penalty kill, they rank third. The penalty kill for the Carolina Hurricanes needs to be a lot better than what we saw last night. It needs to be an X factor because we know your boy Seth Jarvis, Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, Jake Gensel, Brady Shea, all those guys, they're going to pop off. They're going to get their own like we saw last night in that 4-3 win, but you cannot allow 2 or more power play goals every single game like they've done for the majority of the playoffs so far.
Which is also very shocking. They were the best penalty killing unit in the NHL during the regular season. So I love that you're highlighting this, and we don't need to go into the importance of special teams. Cough, cough, Toronto Maple Leafs, where are we at on the power play? And your goose got cooked. However, speaking of the power play as well, just a little fun fact, 5 power play chances for Carolina in game 1, 0 goals. So there you go again, and they lose that game. They pop even 1 on the power play out of 5 chances, Steele. That game might be going a whole different angle. Love that X factor. I'll dive right into mine. During the regular season, it's kind of in the same vein as the penalty kill. This Carolina Hurricanes team was the stingiest on defense in terms of shots against. They allowed 25.7 shots against per game. That's crazy in today's NHL. So for me, it's the entire blue line has to be suffocating because look at what the Rangers were able to do Sunday night, and they weren't even at their best. That is a very good offensive lineup. The season Panarin had, Zibanejad looks like he's taking it to another level in round 2. That's kind of his style. He's a very silent leader. He just gets it done by example. This might be a cop-out one, Steele, but I think that blue line, given how good it was in the regular season defensively, I need to see them step up the physicality because, the Rangers are going to bring that. And this, in my opinion, we can talk about that in a sec, has all the makings of another battle. I'm leaning Rangers, but I think this one's going 7 games.
And I guess that X factor and what you just said about Mika Zibanejad might be a cop-out for me and my X factor for the Rangers, but Mika Zibanejad is going to be my X factor in this series. And
I like it.
Throughout the playoffs. Might be the obvious after game 1, after having a 3-point night with 2 power play goals, but this man has 10 points in 5 games in the postseason so far. He had 4 points in 7 games last playoffs. And just go over Panarin as well. Panarin had 2 points in last year's playoffs against the New Jersey Devils. You need at least one of your 2 stars to pop off in the postseason.
Yep.
Both are playing great right now, but like you said, Zibanejad has just seemed to take it to a different level, another level above what we've seen, and he's dominating on all fronts right now for the playoffs. This is a very dangerous New York Rangers team. I know a lot of people are sleeping on this team to go deep and go into the Stanley Cup Finals. I'm not. I think they're right there. I think they're fully here. And this is their season to get it done because they've showed us over the last couple of years that they're building this team to get to that point, to get to the top of the mountain. And it seems like they're doing so right now. So Mika Zibanejad, like you said, the sneaky leader that he is, he continues to get it done, and he's getting it done this year.
Love it. We also have a nice angle to break down at the end of the episode. Tuesday night bets. I got a same game parlay to get to. We've got Boston, Florida coming up around the break. Let me hit you with my X factor. We'll break down our picks. Alexis Lafreniere has 5 assists. So I'm not going to sit here and say he had a bad first round by any stretch of the imagination. But what we saw from him during the regular season, Steele, and I think you'll back me up on his slow progression isn't exactly a bad thing when we're starting to see his game really come together. So for me, when you look at the lineup for the New York Rangers, and obviously we talked about the big guns already, that second line, which is Panarin, Trocheck, and Lafreniere right now, quote unquote second line, if you want to call it that. Yeah, I could cop out and say that's the X factor because of how good they are together. I'm looking at Alexis Lafreniere as a really good opportunity here for a young player to establish himself. And if we're talking about fantasy Steele, that was already a name I think you and I were going to take a long look at for next season in terms of maybe really breaking through. If he can establish himself this playoffs, that's going to be one of those cases that he immediately elevates his draft stock and his relevancy for next season in terms of fantasy. And I think he can do it.
Yeah, I think he can too. And we've seen him just, again, slowly progress his game over the years. And, when he was first drafted by the New York Rangers in the first couple of seasons, I didn't really like the way that they were utilizing him. and the way that he was playing throughout the lineup up and down. And, it was his fault at times too, just not playing the way that the head coach and the Rangers play their game. But we've seen that over the last, especially this season and now in the first 5 games of the playoffs, he's continuing to be that number 1 overall pick that we expected him to be. But if he can continue to take that extra step, get into that extra gear that we know he can, his draft value will go up. So I like that you're highlighting this player as an X factor in this series, because we've seen a lot of young players on both teams so far step up in big ways, like your boy Seth Jarvis. I'm going to mention him a lot in this because he's a crazy. Yeah, hey, you're probably
looking good.
Him. He's looking great out there. Best bets, though, before we get to the next segment, I'm going to make it real quick. My best bet for this series, I think it's going 6 games. I think it's going in the New York Rangers' favor. My best bet is New York Rangers to win 4-2 at plus 490 right now. I think that, to me, again, I've had the Rangers pretty much all season. I'm going with that. I'm sticking with my guns. 4-2 at plus 490 for the Rangers.
I fully like that because I had that written down, scratched it out, because I want to give Carolina a little bit more love. And I know one game isn't like the be all and end all of determining a team's quality. I just think Carolina is going to get theirs in this series. And that is no hate towards the New York Rangers, who have the edge in the cage, in my opinion. They have the edge on the blue line. And up front, maybe after Gensel comes in, Kuznetsov comes in, you can make your arguments both ways, but I'm going to give them the edge up front as well. So my best bet, Rangers in 7, plus 450, a little bit less of an odd for you there, Steele, but we're in the same vein. Rangers in 7, that's the best bet as well. I got best bets for the next series, and I got a same game parlay to talk about right after the break. But today's episode is brought to you by our friends at Monopoly Go. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with your friends for time tournaments, working together to build up each other's boards. The more you win, the more awesome prizes you unlock, and there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with your friends, cool new playing pieces on your boards to travel with, and of course, hilarious emojis for taunting your friends. Who doesn't love hilarious emojis, Steele? Plus, Monopoly Go is new and exciting every single day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. There's always something fun to discover. In Monopoly Go, get off the bench, go download it for free on Google Play or the App Store right now. That's Monopoly Go, game on.
What's up, guys? Trey Matthews of Locked On Devils here, and let me tell you about Discover Credit Customer Service. Looking for an assist with your credit card but can't get a hold of anyone? Luckily, with 24/7 US-based live customer service from Discover, everyone has the option to talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Yep, you heard that right. You can talk to a real human in customer service anytime. Sounds like a real game changer if you ask me. Make the right call and get the service you deserve with Discover. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/creditcard.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Are you still watching on Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV? Have to turn down the volume with all that shouting. Make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, and streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. Thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review.
Yes, sir.
We're going to get to the Boston Bruins and Florida Panthers round 2 matchup. This is going to be a wild one as well. Return from last year's first round matchup where the Florida Panthers did what the Maple Leafs could not do, and you win 3 games in a row and win on the road in 7 in Boston. So these two teams match up once again, but this time in the second round. Over to you, Flip.
Yes, sir.
X factors, predictions, best bets. What team do you want to start with?
Let's start with the Boston Bruins. When I look at this regular season head-to-head Steele, the Bruins took all 4 games. You look at how close that series was with Toronto, and again, we're not going to break that down. It went 7 games. A lot of those games were 1 goal. But with all that said, if the Boston Bruins had that much trouble with the Toronto Maple Leafs team not really firing on all cylinders, not really putting it together for a full 60 minutes, I think they're going to have some serious trouble with the best team in the Atlantic Division this year, one that we know is very well coached by Paul Maurice. I don't want to come out here and say that Paul Maurice is the X factor because I have a real one. But, and I'm talking about Boston here, but Jim Montgomery was outcoached by Sheldon Keefe. And going up against Paul Maurice, if you're not pushing the right buttons, that might be another X factor to consider, because Paul Maurice has this team ready to go. For Boston, though, Steele, Charlie McAvoy, for me, has the ability to be a game-changing defenseman, and I don't think we really saw his offensive upside in that series against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Boston Bruins badly need someone other than Pasta and Brad Marchand to chip in offensively, and I'm looking at their third best player in Charlie McAvoy. I think he has the opportunity to be an X factor. I know he's a big name, and those aren't exactly always X factors, but 1 point through that series, 1 assist is not good enough for me. He might have had 2 assists. Anyway, I think he can be a lot better offensively, and I think he's going to need to be if this Boston Bruins team wants to get it done offensively and win this series, which is something that I don't think they're going to do.
Yeah, and if we're talking about getting better offensively, we have to look at the guy who was almost a ghost until it mattered the most for the Boston Bruins, and David Pastrnak when he had that game-winning goal in overtime 2 minutes.
My bad. McAvoy had 4 assists in the first round, so
yeah. David Pastrnak, though, I know he had a couple of assists and, that big game-winning goal in overtime in Game 7 against the Maple Leafs. Yeah. But other than that, he was an absolute ghost out there. And Jim Montgomery said it himself. He has to step up. He has to be better. And if he's not even close to what we've seen him do in the regular season, I could almost see the Boston Bruins getting swept in this position if both those players, David Pastrnak and Charlie McAvoy, aren't a little better or a lot better in the offensive side of things. So that's going to be my X factor is David Pastrnak. And again, he just didn't look like himself in that first round series, but when they needed him most, he came up big and he got that game-winning goal. So if he can continue to, if that could be the spark to get him going in this second round against a very, very tough Florida team, that's great for the Boston Bruins. But you got to make sure all 3 of their best players, Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak, and Charlie McAvoy, are in it every single game. None of them can take a night off because this is going to be the toughest matchup they probably have.
14th best power play for the Boston Bruins during the regular season, 8th best power play for the Florida Panthers. These teams actually stack up in terms of stats and their standings very evenly, but kind of where I think the mismatch is when you look at the depth up front. And I know the Florida Panthers have kind of not maybe got enough out of their bottom 6, where in the past couple of seasons they really have. So that's why I'm looking at the Evan Rodriguez's of the world and my X factor, Vladimir Tarasenko. They brought this player in for these upcoming moments. And that second line, Anton Lundell, Sam Reinhart, Luostarinen, they can step it up too, because I think that first series, that top line of Barkov, Tkachuk, and Carter Verhaeghe just carried that team through that series. So let me spit out my X factor in Vladimir Tarasenko. He's a player that has proven he can get it done in big moments. He's a veteran. These are the moments that they paid to bring him in, Steele, a move that we liked at the deadline. Florida Panthers said they weren't going to do anything, and they went out there and they got one of the biggest names on the market. So now it's his time to prove it. We just talked about the offensive inability of the Boston Bruins. If the Florida Panthers can get something going in that bottom 6, and I'm looking at the guy who's making the most money, they also got Okposo down there, some veterans that it's time to step up. So I'm looking at Vladimir Tarasenko, and I think, Steele, if he can get going, this is just going to be too many options. Sam Reinhart, Tkachuk, Barkov, Verhaeghe, Lundell. We're not even talking about the options on the back end, which they have more than Boston does. That's just going to be too much for the Bruins to handle. Have we talked about Jeremy Swayman's ability to steal a game? No, we haven't, but I don't want to let something hang on a prediction on a goalie stealing a series. I'd rather hang it on what makes more sense, and that's Florida's forward depth, and I'm looking at Tarasenko.
And we both know this is going to be another goalie battle between Sergei Bobrovsky and Jeremy Swayman. It's Jeremy Swayman's crease no matter what. He's been absolutely dominating every single time he steps on the ice.
Speaking of draft stock going up.
Yeah, speaking of draft stock, Jeremy Swayman's, hey, who knows what happens?
He's going to be one of the first goalies off the board. I'm not saying the first 2 or 3, but right after that.
100%. I know we're going to have a conversation about top 5 goaltenders in the league because he's making a huge case for himself. My X factor, which will lead me into my best bet. Boom. My X factor is going to be Alexander Barkov, the captain of the Florida Panthers. And, Carter Verhaeghe and Matthew Tkachuk led the first round series with 9 points each against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Right there behind him was Alexander Barkov with 5 points as well. in that first round series in 5 games. And the captain continues, again, another sneaky captain who just continues to do it when he's healthy and he's going. So Alexander Barkov, he's going to be one of those guys that needs to be continue to be a sneaky player, because Matthew Tkachuk's going to be in the physicality. He's going to be in the blue paint. He's going to be doing all the dirty things. And he's going to get beat up a little bit. It's just how it is, in such a physical game. I'm not going to say he's actually get beat up, but he's going to get bruised. He's going to, you know what I mean? So
he throws his weight around.
He's going to get bruised. He's going to get banged up. Barkov, they're all going to get banged up, but Barkov continue to do what he does, playmaking ability, pass the puck on the power play, which leads me into my best bet of this series. And that's going to be Alexander Barkov to lead the series at lead the series point leaders. Let me just get the stat up. Plus 500. Plus 500 for Alexander Barkov to lead the series in points. I know Carter Verhaeghe, Matthew Tkachuk had 9 points in that first round. It was a high scoring game for both sides, but I think it's going to be a low scoring series between two goaltenders, Sergei Bobrovsky, Jeremy Swayman. So I'm going with Barkov just continuing to do his thing with the passing the puck.
I don't hate it, because it could actually still work out with my best bet. Matthew Tkachuk had a point in every single game in round 1. So I got Matthew Tkachuk to have a point in each game of this series for plus 550. I think there is a lot of value there in plus 550. Matthew Tkachuk, say what you will about his ability to be a bee in the bonnet of the opposition, and he's the kind of player, very much like Brad Marchand, that you absolutely hate as an opposition, but you absolutely love if he is on your team for obvious reasons. Stealing 52 career regular or postseason games, Matthew Tkachuk has 48 points. He is a big-time performer. He also has 5 game-winning goals, and one of those came in this first round. He is a difference maker for this team, obviously. He had 58 hits last year in 20 games. So he does it at both ends of the ice. He did it in round 1. And Matthew Tkachuk for a point in each game at plus 520. That's my best bet for the series, and I'll just spit out my prediction, and you can go with yours. I got Cats in 6. I was going to say Florida in 5, but I don't think this Boston Bruins team is going to bow out in the fashion that they almost did in the first round. I think there's some confidence going in them now. They're not good enough to run through Florida, so I'm going to go Cats in 6.
Cats in 6 for me as well. I think Boston, I think Jeremy Swayman will sneak out a game or two, perhaps, if their offense isn't what it could be that we've seen in the regular season. Jeremy Swayman might have to sneak out a couple of wins for them just to be in a competition with the Florida Panthers. But I've also got the Panthers in 6 in the second round.
Love it.
This is going to be a very good series. It's going to be a great second round in all 4 matchups. Like we said, we're going to talk about the Western Conference matchup in tomorrow's episode. We're going to get to big time bets after the break. But first, this episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's playoff time in the NBA, NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every single game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150, win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all in the app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
And thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen every single day. Continue to hit the subscribe, the follow button, leave a 5-star review. We appreciate all that love and support you show us Monday through Friday. 7 o'clock in the morning is when you can find our episodes. Over to big time bets for Tuesday night. 2 games on the schedule. We got game 2 of the Rangers and Hurricanes, and we also have game 1 of that first Western Conference matchup between the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars. Stars defeat the Vegas Golden Knights 2-1 in game 7. So they move on to the second round to face, one of the Stanley Cup champions over the last couple of seasons. for game one. Where do you want to start with this? You want to start with the Rangers Canes? You said you got a same game parlay anyway.
Why don't you kick it off and I can just wrap up with my same game parlay. All I gotta say is, Steele, these matchups now are starting to get real juicy, and you and I will talk about the Western Conference on tomorrow's episode. And as much as obviously it pains us how things went down for Toronto, this is when hockey gets really good. And I think we kind of alluded to it off the top of the episode. Even with a team like the Colorado Avalanche, I think things are going to really start to tighten up. So that's maybe a little tease to one of my picks, but have at it, my friend. What are you looking at?
Okay, well, I think things will tighten up as well. I'm not sure about that one series, so I'll leave that to my last pick. First pick, though, Rangers on the money line. I just had it up, but I'm going Rangers on the money line for my first pick. I believe it was minus 102. Yeah, minus 102 on the money line for the New York Rangers in game 2. They got theirs in game 1. I think it's going to be a close game again, but Rangers at home, they dominate. So that's my first pick, Rangers money line minus 102. I'm also going to put that with the Adam Fox anytime assist. I think he's been absolutely great. He played great last night. Best defenseman for the New York Rangers, Adam Fox anytime assist. And my lock of the night, I don't know if this will be, if you'll agree with this one, but lock of the night, Avalanche Stars. I'm teeing it down to over 5.5. So I'm not taking the over 6.5, but I'm going to go with the over 5.5. If you look at that first round series, and I know it was, again, if you look at the first round series from the Avalanche, every single game was over the number by an absolute mile. I'm taking the over 5.5, which is minus 155 right now. I like the odd right there. I'm not going to take the over 6.5, tee it down to over 5.5.
Okay, my friend. I like these angles. Let me just spit out mine because I'm taking a look at that Colorado-Dallas series. My goodness, that's going to be a fun one. Number one, the Avs, and we'll break this down more thoroughly tomorrow. The Avs went 3-1 against the Stars this year in the regular season. And let me just spit this out. Nathan MacKinnon in the first round had 7 assists, 2 goals for 9 points. Solid first round, and we haven't even seen his best hockey yet. First pick and lock of the night, Nathan MacKinnon, anytime assist. This guy is so good. He is arguably the best fantasy player in the game. He's right up there as one of the best skaters and overall players. This might be a boring one, Steele, but give me Nathan MacKinnon, anytime assist, number 1, and the lock of the night. I'm going to put it right along with the Colorado Avalanche on the money line. You're getting plus money right now for it, and I understand they've been sitting there waiting for a couple of days, Steele. I'm not really going to read into that angle. On the road, plus 110, pretty good road team. I'm going to take the juice. This is a coin flip game. I'm going to ride it with my MacKinnon anytime assist, and I'm going to parlay it with the under 6.5. So maybe you and I can get lucky here. Under 6.5, minus 128. I think the Dallas Stars are settling in. They play a much tighter defensive brand of hockey than their Colorado's first round opponent. So that's the parlay. You're going to get some decent odds because you got Colorado on the road, plus 110. Give me the under, even though you and I might disagree a little bit there. And give me Nathan MacKinnon. Anytime assist is my lock of the night. I think we can agree on that one.
Let's hope for a 4-2 Avalanche win with a Nathan MacKinnon anytime assist.
Hey-o.
That's the lock of the night. That's the best bets for tomorrow's game on Tuesday. Thank you so much for making the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast your first listen. Make sure you go check out Locked On Sports Today, the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. You can also find them on the free Amazon Fire TV channel app. Make sure you go subscribe. It's the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in for today's episode with Flip and I. Have a great day. Good luck with your bets out there, and we shall see you back here again tomorrow.
Peace.
We all have that friend who wakes up early to go get everyone McDonald's breakfast, while the rest of us sleep in. This is your sign to thank them. And if you're that friend, this is us saying thank you.
Just a friendly reminder that right now, get any size iced coffee before 11 a.m. for just 99 cents. And a satisfying sausage McMuffin with egg is just $2.79. Price and participation may vary. Cannot be combined with any other offer or combo meal.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Welcome to another round of Drawing Board or Miro Board. Today, we talk brainstorms with UX designer Brian. Let's go. First question. You thought you'd see everyone's idea in the team brainstorm, but you've got a grand total of 1. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board, right? Because in Miro, the team can add ideas now or later. And with privacy mode, we can keep them anonymous until they're good to share.
Correct. Next, you need the best way to explain your idea, but all you have is a few sticky notes. Drawing board or Miro board?
Drawing board, because, in Miro, I could record videos, add text, images, links, and digital sticky notes, of course, present my thoughts the way I want.
Right again. Now, you're looking for a past idea you thought was just genius. Only you could find... Oh, there it is. Drawing board or...
Miro! All our finished and unfinished work lives in one place.
And he's won.
Join over 60 million people getting ideas noticed in Miro brainstorms. Get your first 3 boards for free at Miro.com. That's Miro.com.
The Angie's List you know and trust is now Angie, and we're so much more than just a list. We still connect you with top local pros and show you ratings and reviews, but now we also let you compare upfront prices on hundreds of projects and book a service instantly. We can even handle the rest of your project from start to finish. So remember, Angie's List is now Angie, and we're here to get your job done right. Get started at Angie.com. That's ANGI, or download the app today.